Timothy, you ready to go?
Would you like me to read the whole first page?
No, you can just read the JFK Q&A and then go right to the fade in.
Ready?
Yep.
JFK Q&A by Gary B. Haley. External Brookside Bookstore Day. On a sidewalk in front of an old beloved Brookside bookstore, a mountain town tourist passed a whiteboard sign bearing a decorative handwritten invitation to visit the back patio and meet the author of JFK Q&A. Laura, 40s, Caucasian female, happy all the time, steps and grabs her husband Mark, 40s, Filipino Caucasian, male, also happy all the time, by the arm.
Hey, meet the author of JFK Q&A. This is the book we all saw in that movie, Better Places to Go. Come on.
Okay.
Internal external Brookside Bookstore Day. They walk through the wonderful old bookstore and find the covered patio where the author, Gary B. Haley, mid 60s, looks 50, short, dirty blonde hair, short beard, sits at the folding table. A laptop, neatly arranged JFK Q&A paperbacks, pens, bookmarks, and folders cover the table.
Come on in. Have a cup, a treat, and a seat.
The patio has a louvered cover with vines growing along most of the louveres, creating dappled shade. Mountain peaks surrounded the patio. A cool breeze coming down the snow caps has everyone in the long sleeves and light jackets. Gary sips coffee from a JFK Q&A mug, while Laura and Mark help themselves to coffee from a large steaming urn and grab a shortbread cookie and pastry.
Hmm. Okay, that's good coffee.
It's my favorite, a smoky dark roast from Hawaii.
Mark lifts his cup in a gesture of thanks, and Gary does the same. A few more people walk onto the patio while Gary plugs in an additional monitor that faces the audience. Brooke, 70, looks 55, female, Caucasian, silver hair, mountain attire. The bookstore owner walks out to the patio, stands beside Gary, and places a kind hand on his shoulder.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brooke, owner of the beloved Brookside Bookstore. And before you ask, no, that name is not just a coincidence.
People chuckle, including Gary. The cozy place backs up to the namesake brook, which runs along the back of the patio. Cascading waterfalls add to the serene ambiance. Birds make themselves at home and sing happily from the surrounding foliage. A small audience sits in the mismatched chairs facing the author, who has the patient look of a man who knows that good answers lead to harder questions.
Today we have author Gary B. Haley, who supplied the coffee and treats, by the way. He's here to discuss my favorite book about Kennedy, JFK Q&A. He'll take questions, sign books, and I suspect he'll make a few of us uncomfortable.
A few more chuckles. Gary grins and nods quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. And thank you all for being here. Let's jump right into it. Good? This entire book is structured as questions and answers. That's because that seems to be how most people approach the Kennedy assassination. They just want answers everyone's wanted for decades.
He holds up the book.
I don't have all the answers, but I've learned a thing or two over the past 40 plus years of reading and research. So, ask anything you want. I'll answer as best as I can and as directly as possible.
Hand goes up immediately. This is Cal, 50s Caucasian male, who is blunt and curious and has a copy of JFK Q&A open in front of him.
Hi, I'm Cal. Why did Carlos Marcello hate the Kennedys?
Gary nods wisely.
The beginning is a good place to start. Calogero Minicaro, also known as Carlos Joseph Marcello, was one of the men subpoenaed by the Senate Select Committee on improper activities in labor and in management. Most people called it the McClellan Committee, but it was driven by Bobby and Jack Kennedy.
Footage, Marcello and or the committee meeting.
That summons angered Marcello, and he made little attempt to hide his desire for revenge. Then, on April 4th, 1961, President Kennedy had his brother Bobby issue a warrant for Marcello's arrest. Bobby Kennedy arranged for federal agents to arrest Marcello while he was checking in at the Immigration Services office.
Isa, that's you.
I'm sorry. I thought my next one was page 12.
Oh, you're on page 3.
I
Just right after-
apologize. Please forgive me.
That's okay.
That was required by law for illegal aliens, right?
Gary smiles and looks at Brooke with admiration.
Someone has prepared for this event. Someone has prepared for this event. Nice. Yes. Marcello had to check in, and before he could contact an attorney or even tell his family where he was going, he was on a plane.
To where?
He didn't know during the flight. He only realized that after landing that he had been deported to Guatemala City.
Audience member Ruth, 60s, female, references a notebook.
But he wasn't from Guatemala.
Footage, fake Guatemalan birth certificate.
No, he'd never been to Central America, despite having a forged Guatemalan passport and birth certificate from San Jose Pinula. Later, federal authorities arranged to have Marcello and his attorney, Mike Maroon, picked up again and dropped in the middle of a jungle in Honduras.
The audience reacts.
They barely survived, but they did. In an act of defiance, Marcello used this opportunity to show the Kennedys that he was in charge of his life. He turned the Kennedys' punishment into an opportunity by flying his family down for a vacation and using his time there to check on his illegal crop farms.
A young man, Evan, 20-something, African-American, raises his hand.
Yes?
Oh, I think we
Oh,
skipped
sorry.
Gary.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got it.
Hi, Evan. I was just wondering if that's when the threat started or if they had already begun long before that.
From Marcello, yes. The threat started then and continued for months. Long after Marcello returned home, his anger seethed and evolved into a desire for revenge. Whenever someone mentioned politics, Marcello ranted about Bobby Kennedy, even during business meetings.
What about that phrase, the pebble in my shoe thing?
In one meeting, a businessman named Edward Becker listened to one of Marcello's tirades. Marcello allegedly used the phrase, "take the stone from my shoe." That phrase was notorious as coded language for obtaining a hit.
The people in the audience are quiet, each reflecting in their own way. The calming sound of the babbling brook helps people focus their thoughts.
Marcello also said that a dog would keep biting you if you cut off only its tail. But if you cut off its head, the dog would die.
Tail meaning Bobby.
And head meaning Jack.
Footage, a scrolling image of Marcello. Another hand goes up. Maya, college-age female, serious.
Hi, I'm Maya. Was Lee Harvey Oswald in the CIA?
Possibly, but not likely. A far more likely scenario is that he was a CIA person of interest.
Maya writes that down. Footage, newspaper headline of Oswald defecting. Newspaper headline about the disturbing number of ex-military defecting to the USSR.
In the 1950s and 60s, dozens, maybe hundreds of Americans defected to the USSR. Some were likely legitimate defectors. Most appear to have been volunteers trying to spy on America's most serious threat. Oswald had been in the intelligence community, however briefly, and may have heard stories about those people.
So defecting was his way into significance?
Well, something like that. In mid-October of 1959, while still serving in the Marine Reserves, Oswald defected to the USSR. Soon after that, the CIA added Oswald and his mother, Marguerite, to an illegal surveillance operation that included intercepting and reading the mail of U.S. citizens.
Illegal mail reading?
Yes, CIA agent Reuben Efron read all of Oswald's mail as well as all of his mother's mail until 1962. Their open letters were photographed, and those photographs are now available in the declassified archives. However, in 1964, the CIA did not submit them to the Warren Commission, even though Efron attended many of the meetings.
He was Marina Oswald's translator for the Warren Commission, right? Oh, I'm Ruth, by the way.
Very good, yes, which makes the omission even harder to dismiss as an oversight.
Maya finishes scribbling a note and then lowers her pen.
The CIA knew about Oswald, watched him, read his mail, but hid all that from the Warren Commission?
That's right, along with a great deal of other information. But watch does not mean employed. Oswald was not a CIA agent.
An older man, Frank, 70s, looks it, wears a Vietnam veteran hat, speaks from the back.
Frank, retired Army grunt. The CIA assassinated JFK because he fired Allen Dulles?
Gary takes a breath. His response matters.
First, I'd like to take this opportunity to offer a sincere and heartfelt thank you for your service. We appreciate you and the sacrifices you made.
Frank nods his acknowledgement.
Now, to address your comment, there is precious little evidence or likelihood that the CIA killed JFK for several reasons. Hear me out. The main reason is that the CIA had a $50,000 per month directive to undermine or take out Castro, the leader of a rinky-dink third world country, and could not get that done.
AI video dollar signs flowing to Cuba, but burning up before it reaches Cuba.
And $50,000 in the early 60s is roughly $500,000 today per month.
Frank frowns, but admits defeat. Gary clicks a link that makes a cash register cha-ching sound. People laugh. Even Frank grins.
Okay, you make a fair point.
And another reason is that when JFK fired Allen Dulles, because of the irreparable trust issues after the Cuban invasion fiasco, commonly referred to as the Bay of Pigs, everyone in the CIA knew that Dulles had purposefully allowed American and Cuban rebels to fail for the sole purpose of making a Democrat president look bad.
And you're saying most of the people in the CIA hated Dulles for that?
Yes, Dulles got a lot of loyal men to the United States taken prisoner or killed for purely political and selfish reasons.
Footage. Newspaper clipping that reads 3 men with CIA ties dead due to mysterious circumstances.
But they didn't dare voice their concerns. They knew there was a good chance they'd wake up dead one morning. People feared him so intensely that even after he was fired, he continued to have staff briefings in his home. He insisted that his top people show up, and they did.
Most of the audience members are incredulous or are shaking their head.
After more than 45 years of reading and research, I've concluded, in my humble opinion, the CIA, the Secret Service, the NSA, and the FBI were all completely blindsided by the assassination, even though they were aware of several credible ongoing threats. That doesn't mean that a few people in the CIA didn't want Kennedy dead. Some did, but they did not want to take him out. Also, JFK and McCone had an unstrained professional relationship. McCone was not quite an ally, but neither was he an adversary.
What about George Bush?
A ripple moved through the audience. Footage stills of both Bush presidents.
And by George Bush, of course, you mean Daddy Bush?
Yes.
The declassified documents that reference Bush imply that he was a CIA contact during the 50s and early 60s. Some researchers purposely put a fictional spin on Bush for ulterior motives. The likely reality is that the CIA attempted to tap Bush's vast resources and influence. Some records suggest that he helped direct or at least allowed Cubans in his workforce to become involved in the Cuban Revolutionary Movement. But that's the extent of his involvement. There is nothing to the rumor that Bush was in the CIA prior to being named director in 1976.
You're certain that the CIA had nothing to do with JFK's death?
I do not believe the CIA had anything to do with the assassination itself. But beyond any shadow of any doubt, they did help redirect guilt from the responsible party to Oswald.
The love of attention sharpens.
Why?
Because the government, really Lyndon Johnson, wanted the public to believe that a lone nut had killed JFK, not that the USSR had taken him out.
Footage, USSR, hammer and sickle, red star, saber rattling.
Johnson, CIA Director John McCone, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and Deputy General Nicholas Katzenbach all believed it was necessary. They feared that if the Americans believed a foreign government was involved, it would lead to World War III.
And they recruited Earl Warren to peddle their lies.
Footage, Earl Warren in the Warren Report.
Exactly. They recruited him to produce an official report with a predetermined conclusion. Oswald acted alone in the assassination of President Kennedy.
Evidence and truth contradicted that, though, right?
Yes. All of which was either classified or hidden under the guise of national security.
Brooke takes Gary's cup, refills it, and returns it. He lifts it and thanks, sips, and returns his attention to the audience.
I'm starting to understand why he brings so much coffee to these events.
Soft laughter. Laura raises her hand. Gary raises his cup to her.
Hi, I'm Laura. My husband Mark and I were just walking by and saw the sign, so I'm totally unprepared. We've seen this book but haven't read it. My question is about a book I read years ago by a guy with some kind of celestial name. He claimed that members of the Federal Reserve paid to have Kennedy killed because of an executive order intended to abolish the Federal Reserve. Is there anything to that?
Footage, Federal Reserve notes Jim Mars and his book.
My late friend Jim Mars, good guy, good journalist, he wrote about the possibility. He theorized that powerful people connected to the Federal Reserve might have had a motive because Kennedy's executive order involved silver certificates and the Treasury.
But you disagree.
With sincere apologies to Jim, no. Executive Order 11110 temporarily delegated power to the Secretary of the Treasury during a transition. People benefiting from the Federal Reserve likely would have known that. And if they wanted Kennedy gone politically, they could have bought the next election far more safely than arranging a murder.
So probably not.
Definitely not.
Evan raises his hand again.
Did Oswald attempt to assassinate Ted Walker, or was he framed for that too?
Well, very likely, yes, sort of. He did fire a shot into Walker's home, but it's debatable whether he was trying to kill him.
People shift in their chair. Footage, Walker's house, Oswald Carcano.
Former Major General Edwin Anderson Ted Walker was a fierce anti-communist. In 1961, he became notorious for forcing his extreme political opinions onto his troops and for making venomous public statements about political figures. He resigned from the army and moved to Dallas.
Close to Oswald?
Gary opens one of his books, turns to a page near the back, slides his finger down it, and then answers Maya.
Yes, Walker lived at 4011 Turtle Creek Boulevard. The Oswalds later lived at 214 West Neely Street, about 6 miles away. And then, on March 12, 1963, Oswald used the alias A. Hidell to mail order a 6.5 Italian carbine from Klein's Sporting Goods in Chicago.
The Carcano?
Footage, a magazine adds the Carcano.
Yes, Klein's could not supply the advertised 36-inch model, so they sent the 40-inch Carcano model 9138 with a cheap 4x scope instead.
And then Walker was shot at.
On April 10th, 1963, Walker was sitting at his desk doing his taxes. A gunshot shattered the window frame near his head, and the bullet pierced the wall beside him. He survived with mere scratches caused by the flying wooden shards.
Oswald confessed.
Marina said he came home pale, and when she questioned him about a note he had left, he admitted taking a shot at Walker. He later said he was sorry that he had not killed him.
But your text leaves room for more than one person.
Yes, a 15-year-old witness, Walter Kirk Coleman, saw at least two men in the church parking lot moving away from Walker's home. They split up and got into two cars. Oswald very likely fired a shot into Walker's home, but it is also possible the accompanied men who used his Carcano. A noteworthy detail is that Oswald didn't drive. If there were two cars, there were likely two other people.
And you claim that all that was simply to establish a history for the rifle.
Well, I claim it's a likely scenario. It was a way to make framing Oswald possible.
Quiet, troubled beat. A concourse of magpies make a fuss on the other side of the brook. Frank raises his hand. Gary lifts his coffee cup in acknowledgement, then takes a sip while Frank asks his question.
When did JFK attempt to withdraw my fellow troops from Vietnam?
Footage, JFK at his desk, signing an order.
Between October 2nd and October 5th, 1963, JFK discussed withdrawing U.S. military forces from Vietnam with several people from committees. On October 11th, he signed National Security Action Memorandum 263, which detailed the plan to withdraw American troops before 1966.
That angered some very powerful people.
Gary nods while he answers.
It did. Military leaders, financiers, officials in the FBI and CIA, defense contractors, many powerful people viewed withdrawal as irresponsible. They feared communist expansion and less profit. But again, motive is not proof.
Laura raises her hand again.
Why was JFK's November trip to Chicago canceled?
Footage, headlines report JFK will attend a game at Soldier Fields. Most headlines report that JFK's Chicago trip has been canceled.
3 weeks before Dallas, Kennedy's November 2nd trip to Chicago was canceled. Officially, the reason was needed to monitor a coup d'etat in Vietnam. In reality, there were two legitimate assassination threats in the Windy City.
The audience leans in.
First, on October 31st, Chicago police received a tip about four men in a rented room with rifles, scopes, and maps of the president's motorcade route. Police took 2 of these men into custody, found no weapons or maps, and released them.
And the second?
Former Marine Thomas Arthur Valley. He had made threats against the president and was under surveillance. Acting on a tip, police stopped him on the way to one of his job sites, which had a clear view of the motorcade route. They claimed to have found a high-powered M1 rifle, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, and a hunting rifle in his trunk.
Another Marine.
Footage show a printed list of similarities in the form of a CIA memo.
Yeah, there are disturbing similarities between Valley and Oswald. Both are former Marines, somewhat unstable, easily influenced, involved in Cuban politics, working in places overlooking presidential parade routes. And the most disturbing similarity, at least for me, was that they both had been stationed at bases in Japan connected to the U-2 spy plane program. By the way, that tip that got Valley detained, the caller identified himself only as Lee.
The audience, including Brooke, reacts to that.
And out of all that, and out of all the places on earth to buy a firearm, including local stores, Oswald ordered his rifle from Klein's Sporting Goods in Chicago, where Valley was born and raised.
They were disposable assets.
A term the CIA used far too often.
Brooke notices the mood gets heavy.
For the record, my employees aren't disposable.
When she only gets a few obligatory chuckles, she gets up, picks up one of the platters of treats, walks around the patio, and offers them to the people. Her plan works. People perk up. Tom, 30s, Caucasian male, chip on his shoulder, spectacle, whatever, speaks for the first time.
I'm Tom. I always wondered who changed JFK's motorcade route at the last minute.
Well, it was not changed at all.
It was. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows that no serious planner would have had the president drive through that turkey shoot.
The route was planned weeks in advance, I promise. In fact, the route Kennedy took was printed in the newspaper at least 3 days before he arrived. The route was lined with spectators.
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. But why that route?
Gary clicks a link, and the map of the route appears on the monitor facing the audience. Footage display a map showing the route.
Excellent question. And as you can see, the route makes no sense until you hear the reasoning behind it. Let's start from the beginning. The plans were made between November 8th and November 18th, 1963. Secret Service agents Winston Lawson and Forrest Sorrells worked with Kenneth O'Donnell and a Dallas host committee that included Governor Connolly. Dallas motorcycle officers were required to memorize the route. And as I said, newspapers printed it on November 19th, 3 days before the assassination.
Then why Dealey Plaza?
Because the Kennedys wanted to be visible for the upcoming election campaign. And he wanted Texans to see him as accessible, not isolated. And that's exactly what he told the planning team. Their directive was to make him as visible as possible.
Tom sits back, obviously not fully convinced, but listening.
Did Oswald bring his Carcano to work, or did someone plant that rifle?
On November 21st, Oswald arranged for Buell Wesley Fraser to drive him to work the next morning. That night, Oswald stayed at Ruth Payne's house, where Marina was living because they were separated. The rifle was stored there, wrapped in a blanket.
And Fraser's sister saw the package, right?
Yes. Linnie Mae Randall saw Oswald put a long brown paper package in Fraser's car. Fraser asked about it. Oswald said it was curtain rods.
But his room already had curtains.
Footage, quick flash of a window with blinds and curtains.
Correct. Gladys Johnson, who owned the rooming house, said that all her rooms were furnished and had curtains, curtain rods, and blinds.
So not curtain rods.
No curtain rods. Supporting that conclusion is the fact that no curtain rods were ever found in or around the Texas School Book Depository building. However, a brown paper package was found near the southeast window where the shots were fired. That package had been made from the packing paper used by his fellow employees. Fibers matching the blankets used to wrap Oswald's rifle at the Payne house were found in the paper.
Oswald very likely brought his Carcano to work.
Yes, he brought his rifle to work on November 22nd, even though the scope was not sighted in.
Why bring a rifle he couldn't use?
He was probably trying to set someone up to fail, while someone was setting him up to fail.
Kristen hangs there. Maya looks at the note she's written in the margins of her copy of JFK Q&A.
Why was the bubble top removed from the limousine?
Footage, a simple shot of the Lincoln in Dallas and other places with the top off.
Okay, that's one of the only legitimate questions that's only one of the legitimate questions one can answer by saying it doesn't matter why. Seriously. The bubble top was not bulletproof. It was plastic, designed to keep the rain off passengers. It would not have deflected bullets or even slowed them down.
And surely everyone who had access to that bubble top knew that.
Absolutely. And Kennedy insisted that it be removed, as is evident from the footage of his earlier motorcades. He wanted people to see him as one of them, not separate from them in any way. He used the bubble top only when it was raining or snowing. By the way, just an FYI, Kennedy's car was a Lincoln Continental, which is made by Ford, not a limousine, which is made by Cadillac.
Why were there no Secret Service agents riding on JFK's Lincoln?
Gary nods.
This one bothered me for years, but I finally got my head around the reasons.
Frank and Tom both lean in, as is particularly interested in the subject.
After the flight from Fort Worth to Love Field, the motorcade got rolling late because the Kennedys walked over to the crowd and started shaking hands with people.
Gary takes a deep breath, clicks a link, and the footage of JFK leaving Love Field begins playing in a loop. News footage of the motorcade leaving Love Field with Rebecca gesturing incredulously.
See, as the cars begin moving, Emery Roberts, the agent in charge on that shift, stands up in the follow-up car and orders agents Donald Lawton and Henry Rebecca to stand down, meaning that they are to step off the rear running boards and remain behind.
They were ordered off the car?
Yes. News footage shows the two agents stepping off the rear running boards. Rebecca gestures incredulously 3 times as the motorcade leaves him behind. There were 2 Secret Service agents in the front seat, but the handrail bar made it difficult for them to get into the rear passenger compartment quickly. Roy Kellerman looked back at Kennedy after the shots, but made no effort to climb into the rear seat. William Greer, the driver, slowed instead of accelerating, which astounded people for decades. Why would he slow down? I believe Greer slowed because he saw Clint Hill running to catch up with the Lincoln.
Still, a train driver should speed away.
Correct. When a presidential driver hears gunfire, the job is simple. Remove the president from danger. However, that was not drilled into their heads the way it is today. Modern Secret Service agents are now trained exhaustively because of the Kennedy assassination. In 1963, they did not have the benefit of hindsight we have today.
But Clint Hill reacted.
Yes, the late Clint Hill, another man I befriended over the years, ran to the Lincoln. His assignment detail was to protect Mrs. Kennedy, but whatever his incentive, he was the only agent in the follow-up car who reacted correctly. Even so, he arrived a few seconds too late.
Why didn't they react?
Gary looks at the audience.
Incompetence, severe incompetence, amplified by long hours, lack of sleep, late night drinking, the night before, terrible judgment, and lack of planning.
Long silence.
You've given that some thought.
Yeah, too much. This and other aspects of the assassination have kept me up many a night. LBJ's detail reacted. Secret Service agents threw him into the floorboard and covered him.
In a moment, Ruth timidly raises her hand.
There's a section in your book about the Oswald was before, during, and after the assassination. Can you go into that?
Absolutely.
Gary clicks on a link and pictures of Texas School Book Depository and Daly's Plaza pop up on the audience screen. People lean in.
Around 11:45 a.m., Charles Givens may have seen Oswald on the sixth floor, with his clipboard. May have, because Givens gave different statements over time.
What? Really? How different?
First, he said he had not seen Oswald. Then he said he saw Oswald on the first floor at 11:50, reading a newspaper in the domino room. Later, he said he saw Oswald on the sixth floor around 11:45.
And the clipboard?
On December 2nd, 10 days after the assassination, depository employee Frank Kaiser found Oswald's clipboard in the northwest corner of the sixth floor, near where the Carcano was discovered. Kaiser recognized it as a clipboard he had given Oswald on his first day of work. 3 orders assigned to Oswald that morning were still clipped to it, unfulfilled.
In the text app, Gary reads, Givens sees Oswald on the 6th floor at 11:45. Footage, AI image of a clipboard.
Around noon, Bonnie Ray Williams went to the 6th floor to eat lunch near the southwest window. He did not see or hear anyone else, but boxes blocked his view of the southeast corner.
Where Oswald was hiding.
Well, where the sniper was hiding, yes. Between 12:05 and 12:10, Williams left his trash and an empty Dr. Pepper there and took one of the elevators down to the 5th floor. Something noteworthy. When he got on one of the elevators, he had to choose which one to take, as they were both on the 6th floor. That seemingly minute point is significant because it means that both elevators were on the 6th floor until he took one to the 5th floor, and that's where the elevators stayed well after the assassination. What this means is that anyone moving between the floors would have to use only the staircases leading to the top 6 floors. The Texas School Depository building had, and still has, 2 staircases, but one of them is a single flight leading up to the 2nd floor.
Exit. Something that seems to settle in on most of the audience.
Okay, back to Williams on the 5th floor. He found Harold Norman and James Jr. Jarman in the southeast windows. They waited for the motorcade from the window directly below the sniper's nest. While they were there, no one used the elevators, which again left them on the 5th and 6th floors.
Gary looks around the audience.
Carolyn Arnold also saw Oswald. She said she saw him in the 2nd floor break room at 12:25.
Tom straightens. Gary chuckles.
That's not what the Warren Commission. That's not what the Warren Commission report says, right?
Right. The Warren report says she told them 12:15.
That's true.
Still trying to repair the rift, Gary tries to smooth things over with a heartfelt compliment.
This group seems to be better prepared than most. When Carolyn read the Warren report, she was shocked and angry because she said 1225 and watched the FBI write down 1225. She couldn't believe they were so callous with her sworn testimony. So, as most people know, you have to ignore much of the Warren report if you want the truth.
Gary thumps one of his stacks of his books.
This is an important point to many people.
Gary nods to Tom.
A mere 10 minutes has rarely mattered as much as that 10 minutes. If Oswald was in the second floor break room at 1225, he would not have had time to get to the sixth floor, unseen, change into his light blue shirt that witnesses saw in their infamous window, retrieve a rifle, get positioned, fire the shots, hide the rifle that was never found, change back into his light brown jacket, get back downstairs unseen, and buy Coca-Cola in time to appear calm when Officer Baker encountered him moments after the shots.
Not likely.
Footage, witnesses seeing someone in a light blue shirt, and our photos of him in the sixth floor window.
Highly unlikely. And witnesses saw someone wearing a light blue shirt in that window up to 5 minutes before the shots were fired.
Yeah. There's no way Oswald was in that window when the shots were fired.
No way. 0% chance.
And after the shots?
Geraldine Bray Reed saw Oswald on the second floor around 12:33, calm, wearing a light brown jacket and carrying a Coca-Cola. At approximately 12:35, Officer Marion Baker encountered Oswald in the second floor break room.
A quick summary?
Oswald may have been seen on the sixth floor around 11:45, may have been seen on the first floor around 11:50, was reportedly seen in the second floor break room at 12:25, and was seen on the second floor moments after the shooting. He was reportedly last seen running away from the Texas School Book Depository building around 12:42.
If he didn't shoot the president, why did he run?
Likely because he realized he was the patsy. He even voiced that concern later. He was duped into sneaking his rifle into the building, believing no one could hit anything with the unsighted scope. The sniper then used a different rifle for the assassination and left Oswald's Carcano behind. Oswald ran, hoping to stay free long enough for people to realize that he had not killed the president.
All this information weighs heavily on the audience. In a moment, Evan raises his hand.
Why did so many people think the first shot was a backfire or a firecracker?
Well, the first shot may have been a misfire caused by an undercharged cartridge. A cartridge with insufficient gunpowder would not sound like a normal gunshot. And some witnesses said the second and third shots were louder than the first.
And nobody was hit by the first shot.
Exactly.
Gary looks around the audience.
See what I mean? Prepared. So, when people heard the sound, but no one was injured, they may have chosen to believe it was harmless, a firecracker or a motorcycle backfire. Only after the second shot did many people take cover.
Tom raises his hand again.
Did Oswald assassinate JFK? Yes or no?
Gary chuckles.
No. In fact, it's impossible for Oswald to have fired a weapon on November 22nd, 1963.
The patio is silent, except for the calming babbling of the brook and the happy birds singing all around them. But Tom is obviously angry.
But he brought his rifle to work and Kennedy was shot. Sometimes a pig wearing red lipstick is a pig wearing red lipstick.
Pretty much everyone looks at Tom with a little confusion.
What?
Tom leans forward in his chair, obviously upset.
They found the paper package he carried into work.
Footage, the paper package, where they found it.
Yes.
Angry, Tom stands, walks up to Gary's table, leans over, and plants his hand on either side of Gary's laptop, knocking over one of the stacks of books. The books slide around noticeably, but stay on the table.
They found his Carcano and 3 spent Carcano shells on the floor.
Footage, photos of the Carcano where they found it.
Yes.
He ran.
Yes.
Tom is angry enough to make the others feel uncomfortable. He leans in closer, face contoured aggressively.
But you think Oswald is innocent.
Gary remains jovial with a pleasant smile.
Yes. But what is this? Is this your intimidation stance?
Gary leans further until his face is far too close to Tom's. The bully's eyes soften into uncertainty, as though he's not used to people standing up to him. Brooke has her phone in her hand with 911 already keyed in, and the finger of her other hand poised above the send button. But she hesitates when she sees the tide turning.
Let me ask you something, Tom.
Joviality leaves Gary in a spooky way. His face becomes hard. He looks like a completely different person. Everyone sees the bully and Tom begin to cower.
Do I look intimidated?
People gasp, then laugh when Tom leans back.
He doesn't.
Sit down, Tom. Chill.
Tom seems grateful that the old man intervened, turns around with a sigh, and sits back in his chair.
Ooh, I'll tell you what, if this were a movie, that would have been Tom's arc.
People laugh again, especially Mark. Tom takes a deep breath and settles down. The joviality returns to Gary's face. He leans back, takes a sip of coffee, and continues as though nothing significant just happened.
Oswald was certainly not innocent, but the evidence clearly shows that he did not fire a weapon on November 22nd, 1963. The paraffin cast of Oswald's right arm showed barium and antimony in amounts consistent with someone working around textbook boxes and printed labels. Tests on the other depository employees confirmed that.
And his cheek?
No gunshot residue on the cheek. If he had fired that Carcano, there would have been detectable residue for days. Those Carcano rifles were manufactured with loose tolerances to keep production costs down. As a result, they spewed nitrates heavily. Anyone firing one would have been covered in gunshot residue and would likely have smelled like gunpowder.
Could he have washed it off when he went home?
Even if Oswald had time to thoroughly wash off the gunshot residue without being noticed in the shared bathroom of his rooming house, he would have also washed away the barium and antimony he picked up from the depository boxes. But those traces remained and were found by the paraffin cast. It's reasonable to conclude that Oswald did not wash off gunshot residue while he was home.
And you say the FBI tested him, but classified the test results?
Well, they tested the paraffin cast and then classified their findings for 75 years. If the results supported the Warren Commission's case, they likely would have touted the fact loud and clear.
You've mentioned that the scope was off several times. Can you elaborate on that? Because any firearm expert could tell you that he could have just used the iron sights.
The cheap scope on Oswald's Carcano had never been sighted in. CBS later tested similar rifles, but their tests were flawed because they used sighted scopes and incorrect assumptions. Still, they made one key fact public. Oswald's scope lacked the shims necessary to sight it in.
It looks like that rifle could not have made the shots using the scope, but What about what Tom said about the iron sights?
That rifle could not have made those shots using that scope, no matter how the Warren Commission needed it to. And any firearm expert with experience using rifles like this will tell you that looking down the iron sight at that distance would be like putting your thumb over a dime. At that distance, he would have not been able to see Kennedy because the iron sight would have covered him completely.
People pause to consider that. Then Ruth speaks up.
You mentioned that Oswald did not fire a weapon on November 22nd, but what about the Dallas police officer? Oswald shot him, though, right?
Footage, Officer Tippett, photos.
He may have witnessed the shooting or possibly just heard the shots, but no, there is little chance Oswald killed Officer Tippett.
Officer Tippett. Yeah.
Let's go over the walk to the Texas Theater next.
All ears for this one.
Most likely, when Oswald realized he was a quote unquote just a patsy, he headed home in a state of panic. The details of that trip home are inconsequential. Let's skip those for now. What matters is that he went to his room at the rooming house, put his .38 special in one pocket, and slipped a handful of bullets in the other.
Didn't he get on a bus?
On the way home, but not after he left the rooming house. He walked mostly south, but turned east on a couple of streets.
Gary uses the mouse pointer to show Oswald's most likely route on the monitor facing the audience. Footage. Show Gary's monitor on screen.
This is significant because if he was heading to the Texas Theater, he would have headed west, not east.
Where was he headed then?
Turns out he was headed directly toward Jack Ruby's place.
Most audience members are shocked.
Jack Ruby, the man who shot him?
That sounds about right.
But then something happened along the way that diverted him. He probably witnessed Officer Tippett's murder. He was almost certainly close enough to at least hear the shots. At that point, he stopped walking towards Ruby's place and turned southwest.
Gary uses the laptop mouse pointer to show the route on his map. Footage shows Gary's monitor on the screen.
And that is the first time he heads toward the Texas Theater. His panic and desperation are escalating. Police cars are weaving their way up and down all the neighboring streets with their sirens blaring, and as officers look for the man who shot their fellow officer. They are no longer looking for a presidential assassin. They are now looking for the man who killed one of their own.
Gary traces Oswald's route along Jefferson Boulevard. Footage. Show Gary's monitor on screen.
He's ducking behind things when police cars drive by and ditching his jacket behind a car, and then an employee of a shoe store starts following him. So he ducks into the first place he might hide in the dark. The
So
Texas Theater.
not a prearranged meeting place?
Right. Highly unlikely.
Okay, you make another good point here with that. I'll give you that one.
You're not giving him anything, Tom. He's done his research.
Tom doesn't argue with the old man.
So if Oswald wasn't the shooter, then who?
That detail is almost certainly lost to history. We may never know because no one is alive likely to know, and no permanent record of the shooter's identity appears to exist. The best we can do is figure out who hired the assassin.
You have a theory about that, don't you?
Well, yes, but it's not my theory. This theory goes back decades.
Why do you support that particular theory?
Because Carlos Marcello was the angriest at JFK, and he made threats. He had the motive, the rage, the resources, the disposable manpower, and good reason to hate both Kennedys. He's the most compelling figure to have hired a hitman to take out Kennedy.
I read something about that a long time ago. Something about how the mob used to carry out their hits, one man hiring another.
Yes, they often use the same tactics. The mob boss, Marcello, in this case, would have had a trusted mid-level man hire a shooter to perform the hit. Then, immediately after the hit, they would either kill the shooter or have someone else kill him.
Yes. And then the mob boss would have the mid-level man who hired the assassin killed.
Exactly.
Oh, that is ruthless. Oh, sorry, Ruth.
Ruth shrugs her forgiveness with a smile.
Is that true? That's the thing?
It is.
You better believe it.
It was, I guess. I don't know if anyone still does that today.
The audience seems to need a minute to consider the harsh reality of gangsters. So Gary pauses until Laura raises her hand. He acknowledges her with a lift of his coffee cup in her direction.
I don't mean to backtrack here, but surely there was other people besides the Zapruder filming that day.
It was not like it is now. Today, everyone has a video camera in the back of their phone. Back then, having a movie camera was a big deal. Few people had them. Abraham Zapruder made history by filming the most famous and most watched film of all time. But you're right. At least 31 others in Dealey Plaza photographed or filmed Kennedy that day. Few capture the exact moments when the shots were fired. The Nix film shows a great deal. Let me pull that up.
Gary clicks an icon and the next film begins. People watch closely.
What is this?
The Nix film.
I've never seen this. Did this get released recently?
I've never seen it either.
Me either.
Me either.
It's been available for years, but it debunks many wild theories that researchers reject it and do not reference it or share it.
The video replays in a loop several times while the audience watches.
What exactly does this debunk?
First, it shows that there is no grassy knoll shooter.
Tom looks incensed.
And it shows that Zapruder film was not altered, although it takes some calculations to see that.
Tom gasps while Laura and Mark take a turn at looking incensed.
And it shows that no one runs toward the grassy knoll after the motorcade leaves.
What? That's ridiculous. Everyone knows hundreds of people ran after the grassy knoll shooter.
Except they don't. See for yourself. A bunch of people are running after Kennedy, like they thought they could follow the motorcade. Or maybe they're running after the last place they saw their beloved president.
He's right. Look, they're not running toward the grassy knoll at all.
To be fair, one person does run up the hill, but everyone else is running after the motorcade.
Well, I'll be.
The fact is, no one runs toward a sniper. No one today, no one in 1963. There might be one hero out there who does, but most people get down or run the other way, which, if you consider only the evidence, is exactly what they're doing. All three shots came from the infamous sixth-floor window, which they are running away from.
Tom looks visibly upset. He's shaking his head and making faces. Gary, still trying to repair the earlier rip, tries to smooth things over the heartfelt concern.
Tom, are you okay?
Yes, yeah, I'm okay. I don't know, experiencing a major paradigm shift right now.
When people laugh, the tension from earlier is dispelled.
No worries, man. I have to tell you, at events like this, I get that a lot. This is one of the many reasons why I love sharing what I've learned over the decades.
People have seen enough of the Nix video, so Gary stops it.
So the Zapruder film was not altered?
Not in a way that changes its historical accuracy. Life magazine omitted frame 313 because of the gruesome ejection of blood and brain matter caused by the impact, and some inconsequential frames were damaged and restored from copies. But the film seen today contains the exact same images Life magazine printed a week after the assassination, before anyone had a chance to tamper with it, except that today's version has frame 313 reintegrated.
You said that the Nix film validates the Zapruder film.
Yes, It does, because it was filmed from another angle. It helps triangulate Kennedy's position when the shots were fired.
Mark, who has been quiet until now, raises his hand.
Are you saying there was no sniper atop the grassy knoll? That's been hammered into our minds for years.
Gary answers immediately.
It's impossible for there to have been any shots fired from anywhere except that infamous sixth-floor window. So yes, I'm saying there was no grassy knoll sniper, and that's easy to prove.
Just like the Warren report says, right?
Not even maybe?
Impossible. There is no credible evidence to support a grassy knoll shooter, and an overwhelming amount of evidence shows that all three shots came from the sixth floor. Also, that is not what the Warren report says, since it claims Oswald did it.
Gary loads a photo of the grassy knoll area and points.
That fence surrounded and still surrounds a parking lot with people and vehicles coming and going, including patrol cars. If a sniper had stood at that fence with a rifle for at least 30 minutes while the motorcade ran late, Lee Bowers and two men standing there would have seen him. The officer standing atop the triple underpass would have seen him too.
Lee Bowers?
World War II Navy veteran Lee Bowers watched from a railroad tower. He saw two men looking over the fence, neither carrying a rifle. Motorcycle officer Mark Haygood saw the two men. After the motorcade was gone, Haygood went up the hill and questioned one of them. He saw no firearm and smelled no gunpowder. The man he questioned had not seen anyone with a firearm or heard any nearby shots either.
What about the puff of smoke everyone saw?
The smoke was likely misidentified blood spray from Kennedy's head wound. Not since the days of the musket has ammunition emitted that kind of large puff of smoke people described. Also, if a shot had come from JFK's right, there would have been an exit wound on his left side of his head. There was not.
So no grassy knoll shooter.
No, it's simply not possible.
Mark looks wounded but keeps listening.
Storm drain, Daltex building?
No one fired from the storm drain or the Daltex building. If snipers were there, they did not fire. I was once a diehard believer that the fatal shot came from the storm drain. I had to prove it. I reluctantly concluded that all three shots originated from the sixth floor window of the Texas School Book Depository.
But not fired by Oswald.
Correct.
But everyone can see that his head goes back and
to the left, yes.
Gary clicks a link and a looping GIF image plays slowly on the audience monitor. Footage, the headshot is shown in slow motion and repeats over and over so everyone can see for themselves.
This problem goes back to frame 313 being removed. If you'll remember, frame 313 shows the headshot. If you watch that in slow motion, seeing the truth becomes inevitable. The common phrase back and to the left is incomplete. The complete truth is that JFK's head was slammed violently forward, then moved much more slowly back, then left. So violently forward, then slowly back, and to the left.
Laura and Brooke both recall from the gruesome sight.
Sorry, I should have warned you, but watch closely if you're able.
Most people watch as the GIF repeats.
There, see, his head is knocked violently forward and blood sprays upward and to the sides. But now look, his head bounces back much more slowly. Watch it again. See, it takes less than one frame for his head to be knocked forward, but 6 or 7 frames for it to bounce back.
So what does that mean? Spell it out for me.
It means that if a bullet had come from the right or front, it would have been traveling 6 or 7 times slower than the one coming from behind.
People are watching and considering this new information.
Any firearms experts here?
Frank and Cal raised their hands.
Tell us, are there any bullets that travel 6 or 7 times faster or slower than any other bullets? Anyone?
No, there is not.
I suppose not. Why was this information withheld from us? Why hide the truth like this?
Well, this information and quite a bit more has been out there for decades. We just needed someone to look at it closely, realize the truth, and share their findings.
And that's what you think you're doing?
Well, I'm trying, but people also have a responsibility to accept the truth once it's presented to them,
Uh-huh.
or at least reject the things shown to be impossible.
He raises his eyebrow and tilts his head.
All right, I can live with that.
The audience watches the banter like a tennis match. When it reaches a lull, Ruth lifts her notebook again.
Why does one of the questions in this book ask if the bullet trajectories can be explained without magic? Magic? Really?
Gary smiles, grateful to move on to other subjects.
You're right to think that the idea is ridiculous. Nothing reeks of incompetence more than investigators using the term magic bullet.
So you feel strongly about that?
Everyone laughs, including Gary.
Yeah. Once credible evidence is evaluated, omitted evidence is restored, and outright fabrications and assumptions are removed. The trajectories become clear.
And you know this because you measured Dealey Plaza yourself?
Footage
I did.
trajectory illustrations based on the laser measurement results.
I did. I brought 3 laser measuring tools from 3 manufacturers and took them to Dealey Plaza. One of my grandsons helped me dodge traffic. We measured angles to within a quarter of a degree and a distance to within 2%.
Then you built a model.
I did. A minimalist 1 to 24 scale model. I use that scale because the most accurate, affordable replica of Kennedy's Lincoln is built to at least 124. It even has 2 jump seats positioned correctly, which is the key to understanding why incompetent people had to fabricate the evidence of the magic bullet. Most people, even today, place Connolly in the wrong location and position him incorrectly.
So how do you know which way the governor was facing?
Film, photos, and his testimony. So, as is true of all reality, magic is never involved. One bullet did cause 7 wounds in JFK and Connolly. Connolly sat lower and slightly inward from Kennedy. After they heard the first shot, Connolly turned in his seat to face Kennedy because he sat slightly to Kennedy's left. Connolly turned to his right and leaned back toward Mrs. Connolly so he could see Kennedy. And that's when the second shot rang out. That bullet passed through Kennedy's neck, entered Connolly's back, exited his chest, passed through his wrist, and lodged in his thigh, leaving the bullet fragments in every wound.
7 wounds, 1 bullet. Seriously?
No, that's not possible. Kennedy had a wound in his back and a wound on his neck. There's no way 1 bullet caused that. There had to be shooters all over Dealey Plaza.
Who would like to see it for themselves?
Everyone presents either a nod or raised hand. Gary opens the bag at his feet and starts pulling out metal pieces.
You brought your scale model with you.
I did, but you need to understand that it's a minimalist model. It's not like the town square Doc Brown built, although mine is to scale.
Most people chuckle, but Mark and Cal burst into belly laughs. Gary grins, but keeps working. He assembles the model in less than 2 minutes, tightening the wing nuts, placing the car in position, and settling clear plastic silhouettes representing JFK and Connolly in the seats.
Hopefully the wind doesn't move Kennedy or Connolly.
Gary checks the angles of the laser and switches it on.
Huh?
Well, will you look at that?
The laser shines through the neck of the JFK silhouette, then through the torso, wrist, and thigh of Connolly's silhouette. Some of the audience members are stunned.
That's incredible. It doesn't seem possible, but there it is. Why didn't someone show us this decades ago?
Here's the thing. The only part of this that is new is the laser.
What? What do you mean by that?
Everything here, except the laser, has been available for decades. Every measurement, every angle, every fact. Anyone could have put this all together at any time.
I think part of the problem was that when people wrote books about the assassination, their priority was to sell those books, not to determine the truth.
The Warren Commission made things far worse. Their job was to deceive the American people by convincing everyone that Oswald was a lone assassin,
But why?
so that the people would not think the USSR was involved. LBJ thought he was preventing World War III. He needed to act fast so that the Russian leadership would not strike first to prevent nuclear retaliation.
Seriously?
There's no proof of that.
There are memos from LBJ and Attorney General Katzenbach that are as close to proof as anyone can get. And for the record, mathematicians can't even prove that 1 + 1 = 2. Proof of anything is almost impossible. Frank, if I asked you to prove to me that you exist, no matter how you answered, all I would have to do is tell you that whatever you say is not proof, because I refuse to believe you.
We're about to say that people need to accept the preponderance of evidence.
Well, something like that, but I wouldn't have quoted the movie JFK.
What? Why? That may be the greatest movie ever made.
Oh, that movie was certainly entertaining, and it pushed US presidents to declassify much of the collection of JFK-related classified documents. But sadly, that movie contained as much misinformation as factual information.
No,
That is a bold font lie.
Gary, Brooke, and Evan look at Tom as though they are wondering if he knew what he was saying. That expression, if he knew he was saying that expression incorrectly.
I'm gonna have to agree with Gary.
Cal, Tom, you're probably not going to like this, but let's get back up a bit and talk about CE 399.
And what is that?
Yeah, some of us aren't familiar with codes and stuff.
Footage CE 399.
CE 399 is the Warren Commission's exhibit number assigned to the most controversial piece of evidence in history, ever. The bullet seen rolling off a gurney in the hospital and falling onto the floor.
You mean the bullet that fell out of Connolly's leg wound?
Gary looks at Tom a little crocked.
Okay, you're just messing with me now.
Gary turns his attention back to the rest of the audience.
For 6 decades, no one knew how that bullet wound up on the gurney in the hospital. The ridiculous story passed around for all these decades was that the bullet had passed through Kennedy, through Connolly twice, and into his thigh before somehow being squeezed out of his wound onto the gurney.
Gary points to the nearly pristine bullet on the screen.
This bullet,
That bullet?
that bullet.
That bullet passed through 2 bodies.
That's what the Warren Commission insisted that we believe. That bullet passed through human bodies 3.5 times.
Laura makes face.
Exactly. Even after they discussed all the bullet fragments that were removed from Connolly's wounds, they insisted that this nearly pristine bullet fell out of a man's thigh after passing completely through 3.5 body parts.
Didn't it? If not, how did it get on the gurney?
Good question, Frank.
I bet you're about to tell us, aren't you?
Going to try. The truth is not as complicated as it lies, but it's almost as unbelievable. Former Secret Service agent Paul E. Landis came forward after 60 years of silence.
He was the agent riding on the running board opposite Clint Hill, right?
Yes, very good, Brooke. He said that after Kennedy and Connolly had been taken into the hospital, he looked inside the presidential Lincoln and noticed this bullet. Now, I'm saying this bullet like that because there's a possible chain of custody issue, which I'll go over later. Or You can read about it in the JFK Q&A book if we don't have time.
Gary wants his book.
He noticed a bullet?
That's what he claimed. Again, more on that later. Right now, let's understand Landis and CE 399. He said he picked up the bullet with his bare hands and put it in his pocket, not an evidence bag, so that looters wouldn't steal it.
He sounds like the looter.
Gary, no.
He carried it. He carried it into the hospital, presumably no longer worried about looters, and placed it on President Kennedy's gurney. He said that he thought it might somehow help the surgeon, but admitted that he was in shock at the time.
Or was it more of that incompetence you mentioned?
Yes, the bullet went unnoticed until a technician who had been there working on an elevator moved the empty gurneys out of the way and watched that bullet roll onto the floor. He picked it up and gave it to law enforcement, who helped invent the story about it falling out of Connolly's thigh.
Wait, what?
It's true, and there's too much about that to get into right now, but it's all detailed. Guess where? For now, let's back up again. Why was there a nearly pristine bullet in the seat where Kennedy had been sitting? How is that possible?
No one has a clue.
We are rewinding back to the first shot. Do you remember that the shot that we discussed earlier, the undercharge cartridge shot earlier?
Most people nod, but a couple look at Gary in disbelief. Gary does his best all-knowing nod.
The first bullet had to go somewhere.
No, the first bullet hit the traffic light and deflected into the street.
Again, we're led to believe that, but guess who proved that it didn't happen?
You?
Me. I reviewed every film, every photo, including all the films made after the assassination, and realized that when the first shot was fired, the arm of the traffic light was simply not in the right position.
Maybe he hit the thing because his aim was off from that unsighted scope.
People burst into laughter again.
That's pretty good. I'm stealing that for my next event.
As people settle back down, Gary moves the 1/24th scale model Lincoln to the area where the first shot was fired, then continues.
If you consider the angle of the first shot,
Gary moves the laser so that it's pointing at the clear silhouette representing Kennedy.
an undercharged cartridge might lob a bullet out slowly enough for it to arc and lag behind the target, causing it to enter the back seat.
That's just ridiculous.
Is it? What he's saying is the first thing that's ever made sense when it comes to that pristine bullet.
It does seem a little far-fetched for me, too.
I know nothing about bullets or trajectories, so none of this really makes sense to me. But if the traffic light explanation is wrong and the misfire explanation is also wrong, what then?
Yeah. What else explains CE 399 and the story the secret agent guy told?
Secret Service guy.
Okay, that's fair too.
Gary lets people ruminate about everything he's gone over so far, then notices the time on his phone and moves on.
We're running a little short on time, so let's talk about another important point of contention to see if we can put it to rest. Echoes.
Echoes.
Some witnesses reported hearing shots very close together while others did not.
Echoes. More misinformation put out there by lone nut kooks.
As you can see, some people actually believe echoes don't exist.
Well, I didn't say that. I just...
Tom, do you mind? I'd like to hear what 45 years of research has to say.
Right.
Long story short, I did the math.
Gary clicks a link on the pages that show the map pop up on the screen.
This begins on page 126 if you want to check the numbers yourselves.
He's showing us math now.
If you're unable to follow math, Tom, just wait for the conclusion. You might learn something anyway.
Tom gives Frank a dirty look. Mark and Cal both snicker at poor Tom, but Gary continues like nothing else matters.
The triple underpass was and still is a large, flat, vertical structure that provides a perfect surface off which sound can bounce. Obviously, the closer you are to the underpass, the shorter the delay is between the original sound and its echo. The farther away you are, the longer the delay.
Obviously.
But how much time, right? How much time passed before people heard the echo of the gunshots? You can review the math if you wish, but the conclusion is on page 128.
Okay, break it down for us. What do these numbers mean?
For the people near the grassy knoll, each gunshot and its echo were about a quarter of a second apart, barely distinguishable. But for the people near the Texas School Book Depository building, each gunshot and its echo were roughly 0.8 of a shot apart, seconds apart.
Some audience members still appear unsure.
Factoring in the angle at which the weapon was fired means that the gunshot's report was heard far more prominently by some witnesses than others.
So, in the grand scheme of things, what does that mean? What do echoes have to do with anything?
For the people closest to the gunshots, 3 shots could easily be misinterpreted as 6 shots.
So,
This would help explain why some witnesses said they heard 3 gunshots and others said they heard 4 or 5, or even a whole volley of shots. Eyewitness testimony has always been notoriously unreliable.
okay, I see. Yeah, I get it now.
Evan raises his hand.
Then what is your simple conclusion?
Gary looks at the stack of books on his table, straightens them, then looks back at the audience.
Everyone wants a simple answer, but I'm afraid there's not one. The unfortunate truth about who did it is this: whoever pulled the trigger is lost to history.
Gary pauses to let that sink in.
No one alive knows who the shooter was, and his identity was not permanently recorded in any known way.
That's not what anyone wants to hear.
And it is particularly unsatisfying.
Don't I know it? 45 years of my life.
Brooke?
Is it-
I'm sorry, I'm here, but I don't see this line. What page is it? What page are we?
59.
59.
15. Okay, I knew that was the. I'll be keeping an eye out for that.
45 years of my life.
Middle of the page.
I'm sorry, my script is different. I'm
It's
on
good.
page
I'll just carry
60.
on.
Yeah,
You're
I
on
can
page
just read it. You have an
I'll be
idea about who did it, though, don't you?
Just a theory.
What? Who?
Do share.
Valley. Thomas Arthur Valley.
The guy from Chicago?
It's just a theory, but it makes sense that he'd still want to take out Kennedy and to get even with Oswald.
A wild ass theory. But either way, there's more to it than that, right? There's more to the story than who pulled the trigger.
Yes, quite a lot more.
Like,
Like who hired the assassin? Who all were involved in framing Oswald for the murder? Was it, what happened here? But back up here, boom. Involved framing Oswald for murder. Was it just those 4 at the top? Johnson, McCone, Hoover, and Kazenbach, plus Earl Warren? Or was everyone on the Warren Commission privy? Did the CIA really actively obscure the truth after the fact?
The audience listens, troubled and absorbed.
How involved was Oswald? How did he know Thomas Valley was planning to assassinate Kennedy in Chicago? Why was he running to Ruby after the assassination? Did Ruby really kill Tippit? If so, why?
The audience looks like some of them might be getting overwhelmed.
Oswald was not innocent, but he was not guilty of murder, which serves as a good lead-in for my newest project, Patsy. A screenplay from Oswald's perspective. Hopefully, it'll be made into a movie soon.
I'll be keeping an eye out for that.
Us too.
You might also consider reading JFK Q&A's sister book, JFK FYI. It creates a complete, incredible list of suspects, something that, shockingly, has never been done before.
I'm sorry. It seems like we're winding down, but I just want to make sure I understand. You're saying that you believe the government was not involved in an assassination, but was involved in the cover-up?
Absolutely. The government, meaning mostly LBJ, felt they needed Oswald to be the lone nut to prevent World War III. So any evidence that complicated that conclusion was ignored, altered, hidden, or classified.
The audience sits with it. Brooke finally stands and gets everyone's attention.
All right, this went longer than we anticipated, which is great, but I need to start closing the store. Gary, would you be kind enough to autograph books now? And although this may be morally questionable, would you mind noting that you signed them here at the beloved Brooks bookstore? I would love for my bookstore to become part of the history of each of these autographed books.
Absolutely. That's the least I can do. Thank you, Brooke, for hosting this free event, and everyone loves a cozy bookstore.
In credits begin to roll, chairs scrape, people either stand or finish the last of their coffee first. Maya approaches Gary with a book.
Will you sign mine?
Of course.
He opens the cover.
Do you ever get tired of people asking the same questions?
Gary thinks about it.
Never. What I do get tired of is people continue to pass on misinformation and disinformation. Painful.
He signs. Cal steps up next.
You didn't make this any easier.
I know. I try, but it's hard to make a difficult situation easy.
But you did make it all harder to dismiss.
Gary nods.
That's profound. I'm totally stealing that one too.
Ruth places her book on the table.
What should people do after reading it?
Gary signs her copy.
More research, ask tough questions, or just savor a dark roast.
He hands the book back to Ruth with a smile. Exterior Brookside Bookstore evening. The brilliant oranges of the mountain sunset usher in a cooler breezes as Gary starts packing up. Laura and Mark exit the old bookstore and blend in with the other tourists. After a couple dozen steps, Laura points into another store, steps inside, and Mark happily follows. Fade out.
Good job, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So what we learned after this script reading is that Oswald acted alone, right? I'm just kidding. Yeah. Gary, it's to you. Do you have any comments or questions right off the bat?
Yeah. Did the story did it hold your interest, or was it boring? Did you check out at any time going, I can't take any more of this? I need to know your thoughts, if that's okay.
Oh, it was interesting. It's just nice to know the whole detail, because the only thing I know when I was young was that the funny thing is that November 22nd is actually my birthday. So when I read that part, I just was intrigued. But I
Gotcha.
was a kid, so I only know was Oswald was the killer. But then as time went on, there's something more than to that, you know. And there was a story that someone actually shot a photo during that event, and it was like online, and there was like this old lady in the background there or close by, like they called the babushka. So I was curious about that too. So yeah,
Still a mystery.
yeah, it's still a mystery.
Just a spectator, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
Gary.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, I prepared just about the third time I've been through the script. I lived in right outside of DC, so politics was in my family life, and I love history, and I didn't much care for JFK. I thought it was exactly as you said, very entertaining. But like a lot of Oliver Stone stuff outside of Platoon, it's a little much. But
Right.
historically, this was a font of information and really gripping. And it reminded me of I don't remember Kennedy's press attaché, Pierre. Can't think of his last name. But my father worked for TWA, and when that TWA 800 blew up over the Long Island Sound, and everybody was saying it was missiles and whatnot, it took a long time for the truth to actually get out because all the conspiracies is what all anybody wanted to hear about. And an
Yeah.
actual technical, mechanical malfunction just took a long time for people to actually see that's really what happened. And I'm sure some people to this day still don't believe that. So I thought this was great.
I
Thank
think
you.
the name you're looking for is Pierre Salinger.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question while reading the script. And I just don't remember, but was Frank one of the weapons experts, or
Yes.
was he not?
Yeah,
And
Franken.
Oh,
Fighting
see, from
Challenger.
Vietnam.
and was your scale 1/24th that you made?
Yes, it was. According to the
Okay.
skill. I'm
It
sorry.
makes sense now. I kind of got
I'm not, I'm
lost.
not Gary, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
So I went with the
unlike
124 scale. Oh, I'm sorry. I went with the 124 scale because uh, that's the only model of that car that was accurate. Everything else is it was not accurate, and the position of those jumper seats is key to following that trajectory to see where it came from. So I built a model around the 124 scale. That's the only reason.
Do you have this model? Like you have it?
Yeah, yeah. I meant to. I wanted to put it up, and I got distracted and didn't get it put up. I was going to show everybody, but so I have it put away, and I have
I'm
it
super
compact so I can
impressed
take
with
it
the
with me wherever I
laser.
go.
The
Yeah,
laser
like I
part
said.
super impressed me.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
I was just going to
the
say as well, unlike Gary, I'm not from here, and history is never really something that I was all that interested in. So for me, I had no idea about any of this. I didn't know who those people were. I didn't know that much. I've heard of the event, but I've never looked into it. We don't get taught about it in Australia, so but I still found that through the script, I understood it. So I think that
uh,
that is testament to you that like it wasn't confusing, even though it's a lot of information, a lot of people, a lot of characters. I was still able to follow it. So I think that's really good. Because at the start I was like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna get it. But yeah, it was
yeah.
yeah, clear.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
To
Yeah.
echo off of Maddie, yeah, I'm like I, heard about this in school growing up and all that, and like, uh, the particular history of it never truly interested me while I was going through school. But going through this, as the table read and also like reading through it, this is definitely something like a conversation between people where uh this kind of information that feels like sensitive and like almost taboo is very interesting for me to be a part of. So I enjoyed the script.
Mm.
Very good. Thank you.
I like the frame, the bookstore, and how it facilitates the conversation. Thought that worked well.
Yeah. You try to learn this kind of thing in a history class, and people check out. So I tried to make it something more personal. Something that everyone can relate with. So that was the goal anyway. You
Mm.
know. All right.
And I had
Good.
to laugh. I had to laugh when I was listening to Back and to the Left, so I kept thinking of Seinfeld because I keep
Yeah.
seeing that episode of Seinfeld. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Oh, I
So it made me
love
laugh.
Seinfeld, but I hate that episode. I just hate it.
Made me laugh. Yeah,
Why?
definitely
Why do
all
you? I'm just curious. Why? Because you did? Because they're making fun of it, or
Yeah, yeah. This is pretty sure. They
yeah.
killed our president, and he was not perfect. He was flawed, but man, he let his flaws left them aside while he tried to help the average American. And then they come along and make fun of him and perpetuate the whole uh, magic bullet thing, I just hate that episode.
I think in that episode, my opinion is they're trying to dismiss it as silly, right?
Yeah.
Because they're
Yeah,
saying it's silly. There's no magic. There's no such thing as a magic bullet. So it's silly.
yeah, yeah,
And that's why I got through your when I was reading the script and as I understood it more, the magic bullet, and I took a look at the bullet itself, and I could see not very many striations on it, and so there's no way it traveled through anybody. As a former military guy, I said, no, that didn't hit anything. It just kind of, how did they get there? So obviously, it was, like you said, it was undercharged, lobbed in, fell into the body inside the vehicle. So I thought that was very interesting.
yeah. There's a possibility that it bounced off of the back brace he was wearing, but it's possible, okay? Because they they said there was an additional wound or scratch on his back, but there's no photographic evidence of that, so it's not in the. I'd let that out of the script, so too much detail too, you know.
Yeah. But your
Uh,
story does connect with all the other theories is that there was a big conspiracy to assassinate JFK, whether you believe Oswald did it or the mob did it or anybody. There's definitely, from what I can see and from what I read before, like a big conspiracy to stop Kennedy.
yeah, yeah, and it's difficult to know who was behind all of them. There were obviously different people behind different plots. Uh, like for example, there was something stopped in Miami that was probably Cuban related, you know, and then one of the plots in Chicago was probably Cuban related, while the other two were mob related, without a doubt, you know. So, and those are the four that we've made aware of. There were probably hundreds of plots, or at least subplots to take him out. So many people hated him. You know, they were losing power. That the one thing to do to make rich people angry is take away their power or take away their money, and that's what Kennedy was doing. You know, uh, JFK, FYI, is about the list of people who should have been suspects. And I thought when I wrote that, I thought, how many could there be? You know, 8, 12, thousands, tens of thousands, if you
Sure.
include all the people in Turkey, all the people who were in Vietnam, or all the people who didn't want to be in Vietnam. It just goes on and on. But uh, that's it. That's also a free download if you want to read that.
All right.
Um, so a couple, I just make a couple comments. Like it's one of those things where like it kind of leads to more questions. Like you brought up the Oliver Stone's film where it's a kind of cinematic masterpiece from a cinematic level, but it does it's not really answering any questions. It's just kind of like raising questions, I guess, right? And that might be
Yeah,
the fear with your script. And there's really no antagonist either in your script, like where there's like no like blowback, there's no like counter to your theories, I guess, right? It's almost like writing an essay where you have a theory and then you have to talk about the counter theory to your theory, I guess, right?
yeah.
Would you ever consider adding like kind of like an antagonist, like commentator in your script?
Uh, yeah. Let me make a note of that really
Yeah.
quick. And that was kind of the intent of Tom and
The one
Cal.
character,
And
yeah, but he didn't like there wasn't he didn't really push like that hard, I guess, right?
yeah. Okay. Add more antagonists.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look
Well,
at that.
in his opinion, I didn't feel that.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that's yeah, exactly. Yeah. I did. I like. I don't know. Like Austin, I think Austin played that role. I don't think I don't know what anybody else's opinion is, but if I'm wrong, then it's fine. I
Well,
just
I
thought that
mean,
I was looking for more
I,
like kind of like counter give and take, I guess, right?
I would say Tom was a soft antagonist. Like he was easier to push back, right?
Yeah.
And you have people, and I agree with that. You have people who are very fixed on their opinions, and they probably would push harder, and more resistance to what Gary would be presenting. But yeah, maybe more intake, like more of a debate in that conversation made it stronger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, Tom's interesting.
Yeah. That's a true story, by the way. Dude got in my face.
Oh yeah.
He really did, yeah. Oh, he was a big dude too. Thought he was all over. I just stood up and I got back in his face. Do
Well,
I look
thanks.
intimidating?
Good for you.
Because it like it does lead to like questions. Because my first thought was like after like obviously it was like why didn't the family has so much means like to they have billions of dollars, right? Why didn't they didn't RFK back in the day? He believed the Warren Commission, if I'm not wrong, mistaken. Why didn't the family kind of do anything about it? Why didn't they blow back? Like why didn't they like open things up? Right? Like they it's not like they're poor, right?
Yeah, so a lot had happened then. Joseph, Kennedy's father, had suffered a stroke and was out of it, and he was the power behind the entire family, you know. So he's out of the picture. Uh, uh, Joe Kennedy Jr. was killed in World War II. Uh, they killed they killed JFK. I believe the family just said, "Okay, we learned our lesson. Take it away. It's yours now," and just
But then
stepped
they
away.
killed his brother 5 years later, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they did push back a little and they said, "We're going to teach you one more lesson." You know, I don't know if that's related or not, but
no, that was more of a Palestine stain like blowback, right? So
very likely, yeah, very likely. I mean, I don't want to get into all that.
no, but it was like a
Yeah,
Palestinian killed RFK, right? So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, but why? You know, he had so little to do with it. You know, but anyway, that's a whole different story.
yeah.
You
I'm
know,
just like I was just
yeah.
curious why the family. Like I always wondered like why is the family did nothing, right?
You
So
think they learned their lesson? Yeah,
they were
stand
scared.
down or
Yeah,
put
May I
down.
make a remark to this?
yeah,
I'm not the expert and I'm not a historian, but you're Matthew, is that right?
yeah,
Yes? I
yes.
don't,
Sorry, yeah, yeah.
okay. Um, you could have asked the same question of Martin Luther King's family. I don't think they pursued a murderer. I don't think that's the point. The point is that the hatred that led to these deaths is what caused the deaths,
Mhm.
not a person with a finger on a trigger. He's just an executor of the leaders who hired him, whoever he is. I think that's also clear in your book, Gary, that it wasn't, it's not a lone shooter. And if you get too far into who shot and why they shot, you may very well know. You may have the answer, but if you expose it in that way, you're undoing your goal. You're not achieving what you want to achieve. It's pointless.
Yeah,
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 that's fair enough. I was like, it's that's what I sort of my analogy. It's more of the point is that it leads to more questions, right? Like you kind of answer questions and it leads to more questions and you kind of go
yeah.
down, 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 right? So
The more you learn, the more you need to know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
yeah,
bizarre. It's just
Peel in an
it's just
onion.
too much.
I think there's always going to be questions no matter what on JFK. What happened to JFK? What happened to RFK? What happened to? There's so many questions and not enough answers that you could get.
Yeah,
Just, I mean, speculation, you know, politics always plays a part in everything.
yeah,
Money plays a part in everything. You have the money, you have the power, you have the push. So yeah, I mean, but I found even though it didn't dispel questions, it did say one thing that's important to me is that always ask questions, right? Because no matter what, you can't always believe what you see. You got to ask a question,
it's
find out,
true.
dig in. So I think that's an important message at the end.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate y'all. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, one more note. After I scheduled this, uh, about a week and a half ago, I found a director. So Adam Michael. So Adam Michael is going to make a low budget film of this in and around Cleveland, Ohio. So
wow.
Good for
makes
you.
me happy. Yeah,
Congratulations.
Congrats.
thank
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's really good too. So I'm hoping he's gonna bring out all the subtleties that need to be happen. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, totally. That's great. Is the
I think
idea
that's
to
all.
like, go ahead, sorry.
I think that's all the questions I had. Unless, did anybody think anything was over-explained or under-explained?
For me,
Nothing
Well,
stands out.
reading the script, there's a lot of explanations, and there is a promise of AI pictures and photos. So you have to imagine that explanation would link in with that, right? So
Yeah.
it's, but I visualize, like, for example, your 1 to 24 scale model. I visualize the laser going through the neck, and I visualize the actions in my head so I can see it, so I can understand it. So I mean, with the explanations, I could see what you're saying. So I think that tied in well by itself.
agreed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it is visual. The movie's gonna depend on those crutches to get it through. And that scale model, I just make sure I want to point out, it's minimalist. It's not like Doc Brown's town center, but
Could,
mine is to
Going
scale.
back to the future.
could we ask this for context? When did you start getting really into this? Like when, like, and
Yeah,
why? Why do you think you got so into it?
I remember the moment. I had just started a job at General Dynamics and didn't know anybody. And I was down in the break room down there, and there was I can't remember now if it was Time or Life magazine, and there was an article about the assassination there. I remember it was November of 1980, and I picked it up and I read it. I thought, "What? Are you kidding me? I did not know this." And that's when I started the deep dive into it. You know? But even before that, I remember the assassination. I was 3 years old. I was in the backyard playing. My mother was hanging clothes on the line, and I was probably dragging them back down. Just playing. And the neighbor lady, I heard the screen door slam, and the neighbor lady came running out, hysterical, just hysterical, and she was yelling at my mom, and I went running over there, and my brother came running out of the house. Uh, And I said, I remember looking up and said, what's wrong? What's wrong? And the lady looked at me and she was angry. And she says, like it was my fault. She's like, the president's been shot. Like that. I'm like, you know, and that stuck with me. It's a memory that's burned into my brain. Uh, so when I read that article in 1980, it was like, I need to know more. And the more I read, the less I understood. So I read some more. After a while, you learn to figure out what's BS and what could be real and that kind of thing. But I've read pretty much everything that's ever been written about about the assassination. So, and the Tippit assassination too. So, I've watched every film. I've listened to every recording. I'm up to around 9,000 of the 80,000 documents released in 2015 and 2025. That's all pretty well worthless.
Yeah, I was going to
Um,
ask, was when Trump did that, was there anything valuable in that when he released that?
Out of the 9,000 I've read so far, there was two documents that actually related to the assassination. Everything else is outlying stuff that the CIA hid. Uh, they used the JFK assassination as a place to hide all their other stuff for 75 years. Ooh, uh, one
Wow.
thing was the memos from Katzenbach and Johnson uh, that absolutely shows that the Warren Commission was designed to mislead the world about who assassinated JFK, and they did it for semi-legitimate reasons. They didn't want to start World War III. They just felt sure the USSR was going to retaliate if we thought it was the USSR, or not retaliate, but first strike to prevent another strike. The other thing is something that just shocked me and made me bust out laughing at the same time. Um, who has heard of, uh, oh gosh, uh, Radio Free Europe? Yeah, pretty much everybody. So there's a document that they released where the CIA revealed that that was a dummy company of the CIA, and it was their most successful propaganda.
Wow.
The most successful propaganda in history. They got more information out through that than anything else.
That's crazy.
I had to laugh. I just couldn't believe it. Everything else, waste of time.
Yeah, because there was like no news
Anybody else?
when he did that. It was like nobody really talked about it the next day. It was like nothing. So
Yeah. Radio for Europe. Are we good?
is there any last questions or comments anyone wants to make?
Anything?
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, man, you guys were great. I really appreciate you. You brought this to life for me, and I appreciate it.
How is it watching another Gary say like acting you as you?
Oh,
Like
actually,
yeah.
it was uncanny, I would say. You do a good me. I appreciate you.
That's a first for me. I never that was awesome. So yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, I wonder if he likes the other Gary, right? So
yeah, yeah. He's fantastic. Yeah, I can't act at all. There's somebody hollers accent, and I'm like it's just embarrassing. It really is. So I appreciate you.
all right, guys, thank you so much for spending 2 hours with us. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. I know some people on the West Coast woke up early for this, so I appreciate your time. And I hope to see you guys all again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
again.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.